Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Conversation Capital. How are you? Ubonga Bueta.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm awesome, thank you. How's Asa doing?
Asa's doing good.
She's growing.
Almost 3.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Because she's as old as the channel.
Like yes, I was pregnant. Yeah, when we started. When we started?
Yeah.
During the channel.
Yes, during the channel.
Yeah, during the channel, yeah.
How's it being a mom?
Listen, it's a lot. But I can say...
I think the question should be, how's it being a mom of a 3-year-old? Because there is a huge difference.
Okay.
It's a lot. I must say, I was saying, given the other time we're recording, it's not as bad as it was during the first year, right? The demands are much less. But the activeness is a lot.
I ask because I feel like this is not a question that's asked to men. I feel like women are offered the grace of, how's it being a mom? Is it difficult? But nobody ever asks the dad. And so we brought in the Single Dads Network chairperson, founder, expert. Hi, Steve. You're an expert in being a single dad.
You can never be an expert in being a parent. But
yeah. Oh, man, I hear that. Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you so much for coming through. And yes, just being a founder of Single Dads Network, we wanted to chat all things being a single dad and founding the network. Why did you find it necessary? This and that. And we're going to really just delve into all the elements. So hi and welcome.
Thank you.
And so maybe let's start at the top. What is the Single Dads Network?
It's a network supporting single fathers or single dads. By the way, single fatherhood is not about marital status. It's those dads that are not a primary caregiver to the child. The child either lives with someone else and they don't live with them full time. So it could be a divorced dad or even a married dad that has a child living with someone else. So that's how we define it. So it's nothing to do with whether they are married or not.
Oh, that's an interesting definition that you've put out there, because when we say single mom, we mean the mom that's with the parent. And so with you, you're saying single dad means you're not primarily with your child.
Exactly.
So why did you create the network? What is it for?
Yeah, it is about building bridges. In fact, our mantra is building bonds and breaking stereotypes. So we're trying to build bridges between single fathers and their kids and making sure that provision is not just about sending money, but it's also about being present. So, and how I started it, because I'm a single father myself, and 2 of my kids were actually raised in my family. And there I found that actually I did not have a relationship with them for the large part of their younger age. And I found that actually we didn't know each other. And in my family, I also found that a lot of my brothers and my cousins were also doing the same, just sending them to good schools, sending money. They didn't lack. But when I looked deeper into the relationship, they didn't have an emotional connection with them. And I felt that a lot of community work and in organizations and in society, we talk a lot about women and children. But it was supporting a boy child and a father. And then I spoke to a few friends. I think this is like the network is almost 2 years now. And I spoke to a few friends and I said, and most of my friends are single dads as well. And some are divorced. And I asked, where do you find support for building a relationship with your kids? And most of them said, well, we're just navigating the process, but we don't have support networks. So, and I looked globally, there's so many dads or father networks, but they're more social than educational and inspirational. And if you look on Facebook or even Instagram, there's so many father networks. So we are 70% educational and 30% social.
Sure.
So yes, we do have fun. We go out, and I'm arranging a boat cruise for single dads in November. But that's just to get to connect with our kids. But most of our work is just to make sure that we build those bridges.
And so this sounds like a men's community. And I say this all the time, or rather we speak of it all the time. We speak of the loneliness that a lot of men experience because of the inability, I would say. Inability maybe is but I think learning how to create friendships it's a learned behavior. And for some reason, I think a lot of men don't catch that, and they really lean into romantic relationships to be the outlet and to be the friendship and to be the everything in the be-all. And so then the men that don't end up in romantic relationships and, healthy ones are also even more difficult to find.
Yes.
You often find that they find themselves in these very lonely spaces. So there's a man sitting watching this saying, now I want to be a single dad. Like, I'm living with my children, but I want to be a part of this network. Do you guys open room for men that live with their children,
Absolutely.
but are saying, we want to be part of a community?
Absolutely. This morning I received a WhatsApp from someone I don't know. I don't know where they got my number from. And she said, how can my husband be part of your community? And I replied, I said, of course, anytime. So that's why my opening statement was that it's not about whether you have a wife or not, or married or not. It's not about marriage and status. It's about how do you connect and build a relationship with kids that you don't live with. I also invited to my show.
Okay. Wait, let's plug the show properly before we run past Single Dads Network podcast on YouTube, right? Yes, let's plug it now.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Single Dads Network. We call it Single Dads Unplugged. So it's a podcast that's on YouTube. So I invited a young man. He's a gay father raising a 13-year-old. So he said every time I get invited to podcast as a gay dad, or and then they ask me, how can you raise a boy? Don't you think he's also going to turn gay and you don't qualify to raise a boy child? So he said, how do I know when I come to the Single Dads Unplugged, I'm not going to be asked that question? Because he's been ridiculed and he's been judged and he's been said, well, don't you have uncles and cousins and brothers to raise your boy? So it's a conversation also that we must have. So he said, I do qualify to raise. Yes, I'm gay, but I qualify to raise my child, and I've got a very good relationship with him. And if he chooses to turn gay or he becomes gay, it's nothing to do with me. It's probably his choice. Also, it's who he is. So, and then he said to me something that stuck with me for a long time. He said, sometimes even our own families and even our own societal conditioning tells us that just because that you have chosen a life or this is the makeup or identity, and then you are not fit to be a dad. So I invited him, and then he said, as long as we don't go into that territory, I said, but in our podcast, we don't ask you those things. So any father, whether you live with the child or you don't, you're welcome to enter into it, because we also want to learn from your experiences. There's a lady that also said, she's also married. She said, the father of my kids, we live in the same house, but he has no relationship with his kids. Two of them, 16-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl. She said something that also hurt my feelings almost. She said, every time she asks...
Men have feelings.
Yes.
How?
They do. I do.
Eshla.
I almost hurt my feelings. She said, every time I ask him to come... Yeah, she said to me, Ash, every time I ask my husband to come with us when my daughter is playing hockey, and he always says, what do you need from me? You don't lack. You've got a roof over your head. You've got everything on the table. You've got clothes on your back. I work hard. Why must I come with you? So he doesn't see that as an opportunity to bond with his child. And he is a kind of husband that says, as long as I'm providing for you and you don't let kids go to the good schools. And then she said, I'd like him to come to your show, and then you talk to him and ask, how do you rate your relationship with your kids? Second thing she said, is this. A 9-year-old came from school. She had been bullied. She's a bit puffy. She had been bullied by the other kids. Instead of reporting to dad, she cried and went to the mom. And the mom said, but go tell your dad the same, what just happened today. She said, he's not going to listen. And again, it's an episode that showed us that there's no gateway. It almost, the child didn't feel she has access you would think that if a child has been ill-treated like that, the first thing to do would be to report to dad, not to mom. And that, again, she said, indicated to her that this can't be normal. And we have to find a way to create connection between him and his kids.
Sure, let's talk about this. This is interesting. So one of the things that I've always felt like the mom has this protector, mother hen sort of role over the children. And I always tell a story of when we were being bullied. Me and my brother, we had come from Cape Town, and obviously there wasn't much vernac in Cape Town. We were speaking a little bit with my mom in the house, but my dad is Malawian, so there isn't, at home we speak a lot of English.
Okay.
And so we get to from Cape Town to the Val. In the Val, you got to speak Sotho to survive.
Yeah.
And so we speaking a lot of English, and the kids are saying, "Oh, my black American, my black American."
Oh, wow.
It wasn't really bullying, but I guess, you know, it was just
You
that.
felt,
we felt othered.
Yes, absolutely.
And so we'd always tell my mom, and then I remember the one day, my mom didn't know which kid was doing what or saying what, but we'd always reporting these stories, and she's just making a bank to say, okay, I need to sort this out. Well, I didn't know at the time. For me, it's just, oh, mom, they keep calling us this, and you know. And so the one time she picks us up from school, and there's a kid who just says, he just says something casual, like, "Hey, Theo," saying something to my brother. And my mom grabs him by the collar.
Ouch.
And you know, everyone in school caught wave that these two's mom is no joke, right? So everything stopped.
Yeah.
Every black American, Banana Plastic, everything stopped in its tracks. You know what I mean? And then after that, to be honest, life just went on. I remember we were new, so it was maybe about the first month into school. To this day, the guy's name is Togozani. Whenever he sees me, and he's an adult, he was in grade 7 that time. I was in grade 3, so he's older than me.
Yes.
And to this day, whenever he sees me, he says, "Hey, where's my greaser?" You know, it just became a joke around us in the
Yes.
community. And so I've always seen that role, because I remember when we got back and my dad was just like to my mom, "You can't do that," you know, obviously. And mom was like, I had to make an example with one of them. And so I've always seen that role as like mothers are these protectors. And so now you're saying this, and I'm thinking, surely there are roles, right? There are balances, right? I look at a friend of mine became a dad recently, and so he's allowing the child to play with water, but it's winter. So I'm like, you know, this shows that the roles are important, because as a woman, I'm not a mom, but as a woman, I'm thinking, no, keep her away from the water. And he's teaching her how to be adventurous. If it means she catches a cold, life will go on, you know? And so dads have that adventure element. Moms have this very protector element. What does that look like then if we're saying the dad just doing dad roles, stoic? The word is very stoic.
Yeah.
You know, and the mother coming in with the soft, protecting, your feelings are hurt. Is that not normal?
It's actually, a mother's role is actually more nurturing. You know, when a dad throws the child in the air, the child believes and trusts he's going to catch him.
Yeah.
And not with the mom. Because strength or accuracy or the child will not be comfortable that the mom is going to catch me. So when you talk about protection, physical protection of a child, usually, naturally, dads have got natural strength for that. So you would imagine, I was raised by mother and father, so if other boys were doing or saying bad things to me and about me, I would naturally go to my father. But when I needed money, probably for something at school, or I was a bit grumpy about something and I was sick, I would go to my mom. And sometimes if I went to my father, because I was with him at that point, he would just say, "Talk to your mom." So society also has conditioned us that as parents, we've got different natural abilities, and that's fine. And I saw something on TikTok that said we need each other, but we don't need to compete. As parents, we don't need to compete, especially when it's about the kids. Because our natural ability, our instincts and strengths are just different. So that is why the Children's Act, Chapter 3, is written in such a way that children need to have both access to both parents. But now and I'm glad to raise this at the beginning, that we've got single moms and single dads these days. And sometimes it's just choice. People say, "I want to have kids, but I don't want to be living with another person. And I don't want to get married. Like me, it's my choice. It's not that I can't. It's a choice that I took a long time ago. But I wanted to have kids also. So now the kids, the mom, me, and the kids don't live in the same household. It's not ideal. So I always say that if you don't live in the same household, make it work in such a way that the interest of the kids is always in the center. But we find that when we separate, divorce or separate as parents or break up, it does affect kids one way or another. My friend works in Benoni court as a family law mediator. He sees about 16 couples a day that are either fighting over kids or fighting over custody, and he says the number one thing they fight about, first of all, is finances. How do we support the kids financially? Second of all, who's going to live with them? And the courts are saying, before you approach us, go through the mediation process to find one another, because when you come to us, we don't have time to help you negotiate. We're going to make decisions based on what's on the table and what's before us, and then in the interest of the child. So rather speak to this person first, find a way, if you can agree on something, failing which then you come to us. I always say when dads come to us, say, find a way to make it work with the co-parent, because the court should be the last resort. Because when you get there, it's an instruction, it's almost an order. And if you defy it and you don't follow it, you will be arrested. And I've seen that happen now. So I like what you say about the roles, because the roles sometimes, when a woman is too masculine, a guy goes into the shell. Because sometimes if the guy doesn't exercise his power, his natural strength, the partner would try to step in the interest of the child. But sometimes you go over a little bit, and then you make a man feel like, I can't show up in my natural ability. So I always say to single moms, find a way to almost coerce him, to almost entice him to take his space, but don't do it for him or on his behalf, because then it's going to shut down, and you don't like that.
What happens when he's not coming to the party?
That's exactly what we say. He needs coaching, he needs help. And he needs to understand what it is that makes me shut down or go into my shell or disengage. Because it's not about the partner, but it's also about the child.
Yeah, I wanted to offer what I think might be a unique perspective on what you were saying earlier concerning the children having a preference when it comes to the parents for specific things, right?
Yes.
One thing that I'm noticing in my daughter, for example, is for one, when she's hurt, the person she wants to run to is her mother. When she falls, when she feels like, I need some form of comfort, she'll run to her mother. One thing that I'm starting to notice now that she's 3, which it's incredible. I actually was hoping Bonga would touch on what is it like to be a parent of a 3-year-old a bit, because it is vastly different in my experience. And I've heard a few parents share that as well. When they're infants, between infancy 1 and 2, and then approaching 3, they're very dependent on mom, and they want mom for a lot of things. From 3 going onwards, I'm starting to see my daughter prefer me for a lot of things.
That's good.
Yeah, so for example, if she sees me just dressed up and looking at myself in the mirror, she'll say, Mommy, I want to dress like Baba. So she'll want you to go and fetch glasses. If I'm wearing a denim jacket, she'll want to wear a denim jacket, or just somehow wants to resemble me in some way. Another thing I'm realizing with her, for example, if she likes she's always liked the way I make noodles. She prefers my noodles. I make my noodles, by the way, you'd think I do something magical. So initially, the way they would make her noodles is they'd make it in a pot, and they'd put mixed vegetables, and they'd put like a Vienna or something. Me, I throw that thing in a microwave for like 4 minutes, put the spices. She always, to this day, prefers that. And she'll specifically say, I want Baba's noodles. specific. So
that's
even if
awesome.
someone else makes it, they have to make it the way I make it. Otherwise, you won't eat it.
That's awesome.
And then I think a last one I can throw in is also one thing I noticed. I don't know, maybe it's in the tone or what. I noticed that in terms of discipline, even when I'm not intending to discipline her or call her to try to get her to stop doing something, there are times where I'm just calling her to say "awa" and I'm about to say something sweet like "Baba loves you." She'll stop in her tracks and just look at me, right? And I'm not even a disciplinarian, but there's something in my voice that says to her, I might be doing something wrong. Let me just pause a bit,
There's
right?
authority.
Exactly. There's authority. And then with her mom, she just continues. It doesn't matter.
I'm glad you mentioned discipline because, and again, that's a natural gift of man. And if in a household there's no father figure or male figure, because moms are very nurturing and soft and probably emotional. And I found that when I was being raised, when I did something wrong, and my mother used to say, let your dad not see that. And if your dad caught you doing that, you're in trouble. Which meant to me that she's accepting that behavior, but it's not going to work with my dad.
With your dad,
And again, it's a generation where we found that because your dad is a disciplinarian, and she's almost saying me indirectly, I can tolerate it, but not your father. So let him not find this out. So, and again, in this generation, we find that a lot. And you can just imagine now, if there's no father in the household, what happens? So who is going to instill that discipline and those values? And I said at a conference yesterday, a household needs to have rules. A culture is set at the top. The tone at the top needs to come from a father. And sometimes you don't have to like the rules, but somebody has to set the tone. And if there's no one to set the tone in that household, it's anybody's guess. It's anybody's business. People do things according to which way the wind is blowing. And I said also yesterday, if we can fix the structure of families, we can fix society.
Society, absolutely.
I mean, isn't somebody listening? Wait, actually, can I comment firstly on the disciplinarian element? I've never thought of it. My dad has never given us a hiding. My mom was the one who was chasing us around the house, but we ran circles around my mom. But my dad gives one look to this day. It's enough.
Yes.
You know? So I find that interesting. There's something about the male figure that we just pause.
Yeah, almost
you know,
naturally.
Because I don't know what it is. I know that he'll never
natural.
hit me and he's never hit me. What is it that makes me like,
You're right.
it's dad, you know? So that's very interesting. I've never really thought of it like that. And then the second thing is somebody's listening to you saying, let's fix the family structure. But you're sitting here saying, I always wanted to be a dad who was not married. And they're saying, that's a contrast. What does fixing the family structure look like to you?
I'm glad you asked because family structure, you don't have to live together.
Okay, let's go through that.
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't have to live together. By fixing family structure, because we are living in 2025, families are broken. By broken, I mean the whole family doesn't live together. But you can fix it by making sure that you find a way to build relationships with the kids, especially when the kids are younger, like you were saying. Because I found that when they're teenagers, their needs, and by the way, we evolve as parents and they evolve as kids. So I almost think that parenting should be a full-time thing. If you do it just because you do it because you think it's a natural thing and it's gonna be optional, or I'm gonna do it when I finish doing my work, and you're gonna always be on the back foot. So you can fix a family structure even if you don't live together by deciding. And I like I'm going to repeat what I said yesterday. Being a father is a biological thing, but being a present dad is a decision. So fixing a family also is a decision. That you make sure that you understand the rules, and you also make sure that your child understands what's best for them, and then you understand how you're going to show up as parents. It's not perfect. I also found that when my boy was 6 years old, he would put his feet on the table and I would say, but what are you doing? And you can't do that. He would say, but my mom allows me to. He couldn't distinguish. At that point, he couldn't distinguish what was acceptable in my household, what was not acceptable in the mother's household, and sometimes vice versa. So his mom would say, "Oh, when he takes his bath, he does this way," and he says, "You taught him like that, but I've taught him differently." So those are the complexities. But you have to do it hard. You have to do it as challenging as it is, but fixing home means that you instill values in that child, both as parents. And it shouldn't be one-sided. They should know that in my father's house, that's not acceptable. Although my mother accepts it, but because that is shaping him as a responsible person in the future, eventually he will have to figure it out. Which one is right, which one is wrong.
And which one he goes
For
with
himself.
And I, to an extent, I agree with you. I remember my experience with my parents growing up. It was coming to a point where I was asking them when they're getting a divorce, because it was, it was horrible for me. I was like, I would rather have you guys happier apart than together, saying you're together for us. Whereas it's not a nice situation to be in and to be witnessing, So I absolutely agree with you in that you can build, but I guess it's testament to what maybe they did want, in that they wanted at least our critical years. We are in the same household with them, because it means they had done a fairly good job. If I was able to have the autonomy to say to them, or the confidence to say to them, I'd actually prefer if you're apart. It means they did something, because it means I have a voice, right? Yeah. So they did their work. So I absolutely agree with you in that it doesn't necessarily mean parents need to be in one household for a family unit to be together, for us to restore society. Sorry. And then something else I wanted to ask you is in relation to the educational aspect of the Single Dads Network. I think of my experience of becoming a mother. I have so much resources. From the beginning, you have so much resources. You have so many people rallying around you. I mean, for the first year or so, or maybe 6 months, there's someone who's dedicated to making sure you're okay. In our language, but it's just to take care of you, your food. You're just really nurtured, and there's a lot of resources for us from when the baby's really young up until they're 18. You have a lot of resources. And a lot of education. For me, it's not a tough thing to just Google maybe finding a mother's network. But what would education look for? What does it look like? When you say we have an educational aspect, what does it address? What are you looking at?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, we educate men that they can raise kids on their own. 2 or 3 of my friends are actually, one is raising a 7-year-old by himself. And another friend of mine is raising a 4-year-old, 16-year-old and a 19-year-old by himself, because the mother died when they were very small, especially the first 2. And then he's co-parenting for the little one. So I think society has made us believe that men do not have inherent ability to raise and nurture kids.
I love this.
And we teach and we coach fathers, young and old, that you can actually learn those things. Whether it's changing diapers at 2 o'clock in the morning, feeding them, carrying them on your back, pushing them. Because society needs to understand and accept that times are shifting and times are changing. My friend who's raising a 7-year-old Bonga says that every time I fetch my daughter at school, everyone asks, "No, where's the mom?" Because they look at this, it looks bizarre, and it looks like it's unnatural for a man to pick up his kid. And he would say, "Why are you asking where the mom is? The mom is in Limpopo. I live in Gauteng. She lives with me, the child. So what's wrong? What looks wrong for me to pick?" So, and again, even the teachers are asking him where the mom is, which shows that there's this expectation that, especially at that age, the mom should always be there. So I'm saying to you, we coach and help them understand that if you're in a situation where you're co-parenting and you have to have some time with the child on your own, you can learn. And whether you're using YouTube or you call somebody or you call your aunt or you can learn those things. How do I make food for the little one? How do I dress them up? And I like what you said about YouTube, because there's so much information is now in our fingertips.
Yes,
You don't even have to call anyone.
absolutely.
But if the man says that I must find a helper to feed him or her and dress them up, because remember, when you do those things as a father, you're creating bond
Absolutely.
with the child.
Yes.
Whether you're feeding them or playing with them, that's where the bond is happening. Just like he was saying about making noodles or making food for them. It's not about the functionality of what you're doing. It's about building a bond.
I love that because I think so many men around me, and in as much as there's great work being done, but I'm often disappointed to say, not a man born post 94 should be thinking sending money for the baby, diapers and clothing is enough. There's so much more to being a dad. And like you said, men have the capacity to be as great parents. I always used to say, when people like my baby was maybe 6 months, and I would allow her father to take her for that maybe a weekend or a week sometimes, and people were like, "Hey bo, at 6 months," I'm like, "Hey bo, no, I was a first time
What's
mother."
wrong?
Like I'm a first time mother, so we're both learning, and the stuff I can learn, he can learn, you know. So it's really refreshing to hear stuff like that, and it's really important that messages like that are, spread.
I wanted to comment on what you're saying now, Bonga, about the fact that if you can do it, so can he. One thing I'm realizing, particularly with my guy friends, right, is I don't think guys have the same memo that women have with a lot of things. And I do think, Uguti, it's for most of the men that you're referring to that are born post 1994, right? I'd take it back to 90.
Okay.
Why are you not including my people? Like, what's wrong with
Bonga
you?
likes to exclude me and you give it.
Sorry.
So the thing is, right? I'm realizing, because they don't, and I hope I really explain well what I mean by the memo thing. Like, women understand if there's a death, you need to go and visit. You need to dress up in a certain way. There's no question. If someone passes away within a family, if it's someone's birthday, the idea of gifts is a norm, right? It's standard. But I've realized, and especially with my friend group as well, and with conversations with other guys as well, that guys don't have that memo. Nobody sent it to them. And the reason I'm referring to kids born from 90 onwards, I feel like the problem, what happened to us, and society failed us. And here's what I mean by that. To use as an example of stressing my point, right? You know how older generations get annoyed at how the younger generation speaks English and doesn't speak their own home languages. And the issue I have with that, the big issue is our elders didn't make the effort, didn't inconvenience themselves in order to pass those languages down to us. They sent us to English schools. That's where we spent our time Monday to Friday from 7:30 to 2 p.m., which is what we were being taught, the language that we were being taught in. If you look at the Afrikaner community, they're completely different. They make sure, they're very intentional. And I think minority groups tend to be a lot more intentional about preserving languages, right? So I use that as an example just to illustrate, Uguti, this is exactly what we've done with men. There's a lot of history behind why that happens, especially in our context, right? But I think in our approach to solving the problem, we do need to understand that, I've had birthdays where my friends have to be told by their wives, it's Given's birthday, do something. Given just achieved something. You need to do something about that, And I think it's exactly why women continue to be frustrated by men. Like, literally, men don't have a memo. And I even realized that I needed to write my own memos. I'm starting to teach myself. Nobody ever taught me this. I'm literally starting to teach myself. And I think it's also because of my female friends as well as my partner. The idea of my friend has a birthday, I need to buy him something. Now I have to figure out, what do you buy a guy friend? I'm still there. I'm still there. Like the idea of even just saying, bud, let's just go out for a drink, I'll pay for your meal. Like in the majority of guys, we've never been taught that. We've never existed in communities that normalize that behavior. And I think that is what the frustration, that's why you're getting that frustration in parenting. Nobody normalizes those things for us. Nobody sends us that memo. You know?
I was thinking, as you're talking about it, what's the equivalent of flowers for men? Like just a small gesture. You know, not like a grand gesture, but you're right. Buying a man a gift is a difficult thing. You have to think soccer club.
Yes.
Personalize their jersey. Now they don't
It
watch
feels
soccer.
expensive.
Yeah, now they don't watch soccer. And you're just like, you know, because, but when you think of women's gifts, the things are there from bath salts, flowers, you know, these things are constantly. So you're actually, yeah, I like that point.
And another thing, people like bo stay, bo given, you know, the husband, Black. I want the name, the good husband.
That husband podcast.
That husband podcast. People like they're there, ne? But the truth is, the average guy is not surrounded by people who are spreading the same message. The experience I have that's very close to me is that the person who sends the money for the diapers, for ensuring the baby has food, ensuring the baby has shelter, the truth is the people around him, same age group, are saying, we are sebenza. You know, that's the truth. Unfortunately, of course, we're glad there's more of this and we're having this conversation here. But just to echo Given's point, even if you're having these conversations, I'm surely people who look at Given, they're saying, you're going above and beyond. Like, that's just the people that the mindset that's there. Of course, we have Boste, we have Given, we have Bo Black. So we're getting somewhere and these communities are being created. But then maybe you can answer this. With where patriarchy is, ne? I wonder how your experience has been when you tell men these things, that you can change the diaper of a 1 month old baby, you can bath a baby.
Do you get a eye?
I have to give a shout out. Nasty C did a video recently, posted a video of himself changing his kid's diaper, Oliver, wearing gloves. And I'm like, for a guy, I mean, the fact that who wears gloves changing a diaper, right? He's such a Model C.
Nasty C, the Model C.
But like, I must say, like, it really spoke volume to me. It's like a guy who is as influential, as prominent, whatever issues you may have with him. The fact that, because you must also remember that the people that follow and watch someone like Nasty C are very young. It's young men who look at themselves and watch him change a diaper and you're like, then what's my problem? And that's how it felt to me. I felt like this dude is participating with us in this journey of us trying to normalize this fatherhood thing, you know?
So do you get pushback?
The response is it's just shock.
And also being like a Zulu guy from KZN.
Yeah, it's shocking. Yeah, you tell a black man, listen, it's your time to pick up the child. It's a time to go with them for shopping. They say, yeah, but the mom is there. So my job is to provide finances or financial resources. So that's why education is ongoing. And I always say, Ash, we have to break the cycle. I don't want my two sons to experience what I'm going through now when they become fathers one day. And I want them to understand that they need to be intentional. And I speak a lot about intentional fathering or intentional fatherhood. It's a decision. Remember, like I said, when you wake up and someone is pregnant with your child, that's a natural thing. But to be a present dad, to be excited about being a parent is a decision that you have to make. Absent fathers are absent because they feel that my role is just to make sure that their child doesn't lack. Or they have access to school, they've got clothes on their back, and they've got a roof over their heads. But we are saying, what are you teaching them? What are you grooming them to become? What values are you instilling? I always say, don't be excited about what you're going to leave for your kids when you are gone. Be excited about what will live in them. What teachings, values, and discipline will you live in them? And that's a legacy. Because the toys, the cell phones, the holidays, that stuff, some of it is memories, but But when you are gone, you want your kids to be able to stand up and say, my father gave me these values and I'm who I am now because I followed his teachings. And that you can only do through building a relationship and doing things to him. And I like the example that giving is giving, because through those functional things, bonds are created. Not when there's a birthday and then there's a cake to be delivered. Those things don't create memories for the kids. It's the stuff, when I travel with my kids, once a year we decide that we'll have a place to go to as family, and we make sure that we put our phones in a box and we do activities and we play card games and board games. Changes everything. When we come back, we are changed because we cry together, we laugh at each other, we laugh with one another. It creates bonding sessions that are memorable. And that to me is what the father should focus on, not just sending gifts. And when I say send yourself as a gift, that is more memorable than a gift itself.
Yes, absolutely.
Send yourself as a gift. Parting shot before we go. What's your parting shot? What's the one lesson you want to leave?
I want to speak to the fathers that are listening, and I said this again yesterday. Most of us fathers, when we give up on the partner, on the ex-partner, we also give up on the kids. And I'm imploring all of you listening and watching, and I'm asking, how will you be remembered as a father? What if it starts with you to break the cycle and just be present and see what happens? And it doesn't have to be an opportunity to invest money in just do simple things, whether walking in the park or playing football inside your yard or just walking to buy ice cream. See what that does in terms of building your relationship with a child. It worked with me. I told a story yesterday that when my daughter was 12 years old, she didn't know whether to introduce me as dad or by name. She was conflicted because she didn't have a relationship with me. Now we are in a different place, at a different place, and it doesn't matter where you are, you can start.
Yes.
But start somewhere, because your legacy is going to be that relationship that you build.
I love that last story where as somebody's saying, it's too late for me to create this thing. You're saying at 12 years old, she was like, stay, I mean dad. And you're saying even at 12 years old, because you feel like you've lost time if you didn't start at 1 month.
It's never too late.
It's never too late.
It's never too late. And again, it's a decision.
Sure.
You're not a podcast is not gonna help you perhaps, but it's ultimately as a father or a dad, is a decision that you can make.
Sure. Get involved and send yourself as a present. Thank you so much for your time. We really, really appreciate it. That was today's episode of The Conversation Capital. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. For now, though, goodbye and God bless.